Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It is so good to be back, and I will admit that I am a little bit nervous today because it is my first limited palette demonstration. So I have created a limited palette with just 5 colors, and I will be swatching it out for you, and I shall be mixing the colors to see what alchemical gold we could discover by mixing them. The palette today is called the Forest Phase palette because I'll explain a little bit in detail. It all started when I fell in love with mixing this Payne's Grey, bluish by Schminke Horadam, and this quinacridone gold from Michael Harding, and I loved the greens that it produced, and I wanted to create a palette that was around, well, it basically enhanced those greens, and it made a palette that would be a standalone palette. I could make a standalone palette with these two colours in them. And then I went down the road of thinking that I would like to do a forest palette, and a palette inspired by forests, especially forests around here in the mountains. And I'm just going to say that I experimented a lot. I have a lot of paper with swatches on them. I kind of decided that these five colours worked really well together. And while swatching them, I thought that maybe they should be called something a little bit more magical because the colours were so vibrant and so jewel-like. So I came up with the Forest Phase palette. So that's the story of how I came up with the name. But you'll understand more as I swatch them, I think, why I decided on this name. I hope you enjoy it. I really enjoyed creating this palette, and the research I had to put into it was really enjoyable. It was time consuming, I'm not going to lie, but it was so enjoyable just finding a palette that worked harmoniously together and made such beautiful colours. Okay, so now I'm going to go straight to swatching, and I will be, before I do that, I'll just show you my new format. It's quite different from the old format for just swatching colours. I am using my Etchr sketchbook, and I've made a little layout here, if you can see, and if you can see that, I'm just going to try and center it, where I'll be swatching the colours, and that way I can keep the palettes in my sketchbook so that I can look back at them when I need some inspiration. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to adjust my camera and I'll be back to swatching, with swatching. See you in a second. And I'm back, and I shall begin swatching the first colour of our palette, which is Michael Harding's Quinacridone Gold. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of water to it, and I'll swatch it for you. I'm not going to do double swatching today, because if I do double swatching, as in mass tone and diluted, I think the video will be like 2 hours long. So I'm just going to swatch at least this page in single colours. Now, this is a beautiful quinacridone gold. I really, really love it. And I have tried various quinacridone gold, and I think this is the one that I prefer. I think I've tried Daniel Smith and Winsor & Newton ones, but this one I really, really like. So that's our first colour on. And before I go on to the next one, I'll tell you what pigments are in it. Quinacridone Gold by Michael Harding has PY 150 in it plus PR 209. Now our next colour is a Schmincke Horadam one, and it is called Permanent Carmine. I don't know if I've swatched this for you in the past. It is a lovely colour. It is PV19, just PV19, no mix. You can see how beautiful that is. The next one is a colour that I absolutely adore, and I've talked about it a lot in a previous video, I think. It's called Payne's Grey Bluish by Schmincke Horadam. It is this one, yes. And I use it, since I've discovered it, I use it a lot. See, I can add a little bit of water to make it shine through, not be so dark. I think it still comes up as quite dark, unfortunately, through my camera. One day I will get a better camera. My camera is not very good. Next up I have Sepia, or Sepia, however one prefers to pronounce it. It is a Winsor & Newton colour, and I used to use it a lot until I found Van Dyke Brown by Schmincke Horadam. But it is a lovely neutral. Neutral, maybe a little bit towards the yellower side of the brown. But it is really nice. I've used it for many, many years. And then I discovered the Van Dyke Brown by Schmincke Horadam. It is a really nice colour, and it suits this palette very well. And last but not least is something is going to come as something as a surprise, and it did to me as well when I was mixing. Luna Red Rock by Daniel Smith. Now I love this colour, and I do love it together with the Payne's Grey Bluish. I think I've actually done paintings, but they're both in it, because I love the combination. But it's also very good for mixing. Oh, apologies, I didn't tell you what was in the sepia or the Payne's Grey Bluish. I'll tell you after I've done this. So the colours, well, the pigments that are in Payne's Grey Bluish by Schmincke Horadam are PBK6 plus PB15 column 6, PB15 column 2, and the Luna Red Rock is the magical pigment called, well, the very not so magical name, PR101. So those are the colours for our palette. And now let the magic begin. I'm going to start mixing. I'm going to move all these. I've just brought these out so I can show you the tubes of all the colours, so you can see what they look like. And let's begin with the mixing. So the way I'm going to mix is I'm going to produce 2 oranges, I'm going to mix 2 oranges, I'm going to mix 2 greens, I'm going to mix 2 purples, and then I'm going to mix 2 greys. And how am I going to do that? Well, for the orange, I'm going to use the quinacridone gold and the permanent carmine. In the first one, I'm going to use more quinacridone gold than permanent carmine, and then in the second swatch for the orange, I'm going to use more permanent carmine than quinacridone gold. So it's basically playing with the proportions of the colours to make different colours. Similar but different colours. I do hope that made sense. So I'm going to take some quinacridone gold. I'm going to use more quinacridone gold in my first mix. Let's give it a good wash. And maybe a tiny bit more carmine. And this is going to be my first orange. And look at that glow. Look at that gold. A pot of gold for a fairy, nonetheless. No less, not nonetheless. I'm sorry, I'm out of practice. I haven't videoed for a week and I don't know how to speak to the camera anymore. Not that I was particularly really fluent when speaking before, but anyway, rambling. I've just added a little bit more carmine. And, ooh, maybe I need to add a little bit more carmine. Yeah, that's it. Give it a little bit more of a deep orange colour. In fact, that could have taken a bit more carmine. But no worries, we'll move on. The next colour I'm going to mix is green, and I'm going to use Payne's Grey with quinacridone gold. So I'm going to use more quinacridone gold for the first swatch, then Payne's Grey. Give it a really good clean. I'm going to need a bit more quinacridone gold. There we go. My first green is going to be beautiful, beautiful colour. Almost akin to green gold, but with a bit more opacity to it. And now I am going to use more Payne's Grey. Just add more Payne's Grey. And now I'm going to come up with this very dark forest colour. Beautiful colour. Look at that green. I do love greens, and I kind of overreact with greens, I know. That is truly beautiful. I hope you can see that through the camera. To me it looks so rich, but I don't know if you can see it through the camera. It's so beautiful. Okay. Enough of me drooling over the greens. Next I'm going to do purples. So I'm going to mix Payne's Grey Bluish. The thing I like about this colour, the Payne's Grey, the Bluish by Schmincke Horadam, is that when you mix it with colours, even with very vivid colours, the colours it produces are very grounded. They're not artificially, they don't look artificial, they look really natural, and I love mixing with it. Okay, so what was I? I'm going to add some lovely carmine to it, permanent carmine. Here I'm going to get a really deep, almost the aubergine colour. Look at that, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Lovely royal purple for the forest fairies there. And now I'm going to add a bit more carmine, I think. Yeah. A little bit more water. And you get this lovely berry colour. Actually, that could be a berry as well. So you've got these beautiful berry-like colours, forest fruit colours, which are beautiful. And now for the greys. So I'm going to mix, for the greys, I'm going to mix Schmincke Horadam's Payne's Grey Bluish with the sepia. You're going to tell me I haven't used the Lunar Red Rock yet. It is coming up. I promise you that it's coming up. It's going to be on our next page. So let's just add a little bit more water. There we go. Lovely grey. Beautiful grey. And I am going to add a little bit more Payne's Grey. I can make a mess on my palette here, but okay. That's what palettes are for making messes. And just, yeah, little, you can see the difference. It's a bluer grey. That's more of a middle grey. This is a cooler grey. As I said earlier, I cannot speak. I have lost the ability to actually speak. There we go. So you've got like this middle grey, and this is a slightly bluer grey. Now, oh, I can see something on there that I need to clean up. There we go. A little bit of water. Just lift. It's going to leave a little bit of mark, but that's fine. So I've mixed all these colours together. So I've done 2 oranges, 2 greens, 2 purples and 2 greys. And now I'm going to move on to mixing all these colours with Lunar Red Rock. I am just going to clean my pot of water and I'll be back with some fresh water and I'll begin swatching for you again. See you in a second. And I am back with some fresh water and I'll begin mixing the Lunar Red Rock with all our colours and see what happens. So I'm going to take some Lunar Red Rock, put it here, my palette, and I'm going to start with the Carmine. Now, Lunar Red Rock, as you can see here, or you might not be able to see at the moment, but it has like a red undertone. And I thought that mixing it with some Carmine would be interesting to enhance that pink reddish undertone it has. So I'll just swatch it for you. In Maestro, I'm going to do a double here so that you can see the textures. So I'm going to swatch it in Maestro. Then I'm going to do a diluted version so you can see what it looks like. It's such a lovely muted, almost potter's pink, but a lot deeper colour. It's so pretty. I don't know why, but when I look at potter's pink, I always think of pottery shards, which I was thinking, oh, maybe the fairies, the forest fairies, the forest fae might be eating their dinner and lunch from just pottery shards they find in the forest. I know. I have this tendency to give narratives to colours. Hence why I really enjoy making palettes, because I feel like there's almost a story to be told just by looking at the colours. It's an inspiration. You can gain inspiration for a story just looking at colours. Anyway, I'm rambling. Next, I am going to mix the quinacridone gold here with some Lunar Red Rock. Now this made a very interesting colour. Now you may like it or you may not like it, but it does remind me of a very mustard colour, like a muted, very muted yellow, earthy yellow. I don't know if fairies like mustard. Does anyone know? I just found it a very interesting colour. It just takes the edge off the quinacridone gold, makes it a lot more earthy. There we go. Now I'm going to mix the Payne's Grey Bluish with the Lunar Red Rock. See what happens. Wow. Dark granite charcoal colour, dark granite charcoal colour. Hope that made sense. It's very earthy, very dark, but you can see the separation there of the lunar red rock. I don't know if it comes through in the camera, but I can see it, like little pink specks underneath. And I'm going to do a lighter version here. This paper is 100% cotton and it's really lovely to work on. It's beautiful, beautiful paper. Okay, and now I'm going to mix the sepia with the lunar red rock. Let's see what happens with this. Yeah, you get a beautiful chocolatey brown, perfect for painting barks, tree barks. Look at that. That is beautiful, beautiful colour. I'll just dilute it a little bit so you can see it better. Oh, I just adore that. It's beautiful. So those are the 4 colours that you can mix with the lunar red rock. Now the final colour is, I've just a spot for the one final colour here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. And you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but when I was experimenting, I tried this and I thought, my goodness, really? That happened? So I need to do it for you. I'm going to mix all 3 of the primaries, or the primary-esque colours, the quinacridone gold, the permanent carmine, and the Payne's grey together. And no, they are not going to produce a grey. They're going to produce something else if I am successful. Let's see. So I'm going to put some carmine, permanent carmine. Just clean that. I'm going to put some quinacridone gold. It's beautiful quinacridone gold. And some Payne's grey. And I am going to swatch this colour for you. Oh, maybe I should put a tiny bit more blue. Just a teeny bit. Yeah, there we go. Look at that green. That is gorgeous. Just mixing those 3 together. A gorgeous mossy green. Very earthy green. And those are the colours. Now, I'm just going to bring them all into focus so you can see them together, hopefully. There we go. So from these 5 colours, we've mixed all these, and I assure you, you can mix a lot more. This is just a fraction of what you can mix, because you can play with mixing 3 together, you can play with like mixing the lunar red rock with the Payne's grey and maybe adding a little bit of permanent carmine. You can do a lot of things, but this is just a very simple mixing video. So we've got our oranges, we've got our greens, we've got our purples, we've got our greys, and then we've got this beautiful palette here, which I love. An earthy pink, this mustard colour, this slate grey, which has like reddish pigments in it, or reddish, I'd say earthy red, not red pigments. Then you've got this bark colour, and that, my friends, is my Forest Phase palette. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved doing this. I absolutely enjoyed every second of doing the research. However, it does take a lot of time to actually just find that sweet spot where you get all the colours to work together harmoniously and you can make them work and make colours that you like come out from them, from the mixing of them. So I don't know if I'll be doing this every week. I will try to do them frequently. I have some ideas about doing palettes. Like, as you know, I've mentioned, if you haven't heard, I've mentioned in a previous video that I wanted I want to do historical palettes, but that's going to take quite a lot of time to actually prepare for, because I need to source the pigments, well, the watercolors, and I need them to arrive here for me to do the filming. And there's a lot of research that goes into that as well. This is an aesthetic palette. This is just a palette that is just a palette that you can gain inspiration from and use if you would like. But I also found that I may, oh God, I would like to dive into doing different palettes also, like maybe palettes that are inspired by books, maybe. And the reason is I have been listening, oh, sorry about that. I've been listening on audiobook while I've been working to Jane Eyre. I have obviously read the book and I have listened to it before, but now I'm listening to it again. I found a different narrator and I thought I'd listen to them narrate the book. And I kept picking out colours that are in the book that the author refers to. And I thought, would it be nice to do like a palettes that are inspired by books? Because in my mind I have that colours can produce their own narrative. They do still tell a story, just the colours. They don't have to be, that they can inspire you to tell a story. I am rambling so much and I am just not making any sense probably, but I just thought that it would be interesting to make palettes that are inspired by books. So, there's so many sources of inspiration you can find for building palettes. And I'm just touching the peak of the iceberg here. Because, there's so much you can do with palettes. Anyway, that was a very long ramble. Next week, and I apologise for that, next week I'm hoping that either I'm going to be doing another palette or I'll be doing a time-lapse of me working, because lots of people have requested it, that they would like to see me working. And I kind of, if I did like a video that had the full length of me working on a piece, it will be hours and hours long because I am a slow painter. I work very slowly. So a time lapse would solve that issue. So I might be doing that with a voiceover, which I have never done before. And I'm kind of nervous doing, but we'll see. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found inspiration from my swatching, from my palette building. I'll show you the colours before I go again. I used Payne's Grey Bluish by Schminke Horadam. I used Lunar Red Rock by Daniel Smith. I used Quinacridone Gold by Michael Harding. I used Permanent Carmine by Schminke Horadam. And I used Sepia from Winsor & Newton. So I'll leave you here. I love you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, I forgot the awkward bit at the end. So if you like this video, please like the video. If you would like to see more videos from me and more rambling from me, please subscribe and hit the notification button so that YouTube will tell you when I have a video up. And if you would like to leave comments, I love reading your comments. I really, really do. Please leave a comment. Thank you all so much. Stay safe, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye bye. Bye.